So for those of you who are on my other platforms like Instagram and Facebook, you already know. But for those who are on this other thing called Haps, hi from Los Angeles. Hi, I'm in Tokyo at the moment. I'm just checking to see if this is working for Instagram because I've been having trouble getting this to work for Instagram. And it's I probably not, but that's okay. All right. So anyway, I'm going to show you my work process here for how I make my flowers with embroidery. Um, so first, usually it starts off with a design. Oh shoot, is that why? Because I did. Oh, thanks Pablo for telling me. I tried doing the RTMP with Yellow Duck, and it still doesn't seem to be working. So I guess that wasn't enough. Anyway, thanks for letting me know. I hope they fix that. Um, anyway, I'm gonna turn this around. Uh, Here is the start of how I usually would start my design process here. So this is from a previous customer. She asked for a dangly sakura earring, so I gave her some options. Um, oh, okay, that's helpful. Thank you for letting me know that. Um, so first, here's the design options of what she wanted, but I said like a 500 yen coin, which is about 3 centimeters, or how's that in inches? 1.3, 1.2 inches. And I'm American, but I've been living in Japan for so long that I've changed over to other metric system. So she said she wanted it twice as big. So it ended up being 6 centimeters. And so I gave her a couple more options and she chose this one. Um, Thanks for the 50 cents. That's really nice of you. This is my first time to get something from here. Okay, so then I already had this pattern made, but I'm currently working on making a more realistic pattern. I'll show you. Let me just put this down because this is hard to do with one hand. So let me just put this down here for a bit. Okay, so currently I'm working. This is what a flower would typically look like. Maybe it doesn't look the greatest in that lighting, but I'll pull out a couple that are in work in progress. Okay, so this one I recently finished the embroidery part. The stamen I didn't add yet. I'm going to do that later, but once the stamen are added, it actually looks a lot nicer. Let me pull out one that has the stamen and is finished. Let me see, it's a little bit bundled up with the rest of my stuff here. So this is a necklace that I made. When did I make this one? A year and a half ago or more. I've gotten a little bit better since I've made this, but here's, I'm going to zoom out so you can see the whole thing here. So this is all hand embroidered. Um, this one's a little bit, I got to fix the wiring here. Hold on. Okay, so this one is all embroidered, hand embroidered. I really ought to just, because there's the way it stays supported is with a wire here. So that's how it keeps its shape. But the wire is still flexible. So, I mean, it doesn't break or bend because I think the fabric helps keep it in place. But anyway, it goes from, here's one that's not quite finished yet here. So it starts out like this. And then that's the outer edge. And then here's the inner edge where the next one is. And then the final result, something like this, but I make the stamen. This is not the best example because you should really check out my Instagram for more recent ones. So anyway, my thinking process is that first I make a flower pattern like this. And I just was outside and I used a real sakura here like this. and it looks really it's in poor shape because I used the stamp, but um, so I stamped it in the ink pad, and then I pushed it down, and then I outlined it here. And so later I'm gonna trace this with wax paper, and then use that to make the shape. And then I'll make a more realistic one because this is actually from a book, and I'm trying to make it look a bit more realistic, I suppose. Here are my other works here. This one I took the pattern from online. They had a, what do you call it? I guess it's a vector. Yeah, vector drawing of a leaf. Of this is a Japanese maple. And so I did the stitching here. This is the right side, and I made in the autumn of 2020. Um, I wanted to capture the changing of the seasons, which is my biggest influence with my work here. Um, so then, let's see, what else can I explain? I've got some other works in here. Here I made a rose, and I haven't really decided what to do with it yet. I thought I was going to turn it into some sort of braid wrap, but I'm not quite sure yet. It's kind of been sitting there for a while. Another work that I made, oh, here's a white rose, kind of a pinkish white rose that I made here. So again, this is all hand embroidery. To give you an idea, for me to get from zero, which this is not zero, this is maybe halfway done. So for me to get to zero to a flower that this far without adding the stamen for this size, that takes me 3 hours. If it's the rose, this is 3 layers here, 1, 2, 3 layers. This is going to take, oh, so I bet this bottom layer will take me 6 hours plus another 4 hours, and then maybe 3 hours, and then yeah, so that's how much work it takes for just this one rose. um, these this is a different kind of embroidery than this one. This one is called needle painting. Sorry, I'm going to move this snowbell out of the way here. I'm going to make a pattern out of this flower next after I'm done talking. Okay, so this version here of embroidery is called needle painting. Needle painting is a type of embroidery where you use many different color threads, and I can zoom in, you can see just how many different colors, and it makes the illusion of a gradient, because the stitches are so small, and it's also called short stitch, long stitch, and the short stitch and long stitch helps make the colors look more connected. Here's the other version here. Do you have one that you like better? Because personally, I like this one better. I like the variety of colors it shows off. Some people like this one, but I think I like this one better. Here's another example of this is not 3D embroidery, but this is another example of needle painting that I did here. Is this fox. This fox is done on kimono pattern on a silk here, and usually I don't make animals, and most of my embroidery is 3D, but I decided to try this out because this was my very first needle painting embroidery, and I would say that in this fox alone there has to be at least 10 different colors because of the white and the black, and there's different browns and yellows, and there's some red and oranges. So this took 2 weeks to make this little fox here. Had I been working without sleep, then it might have taken me 2 days straight, maybe. Let me give you another example here of my work. This is one of my more favorite ones. It's a very simple one, but it's a hydrangea, and I used the abalone shell. Sometime in 2019, I think it was, we went to visit New Zealand, and New Zealand, I think they're famous for their abalone. So I bought a few shell pieces while we were there, and this is how it's attached to the back. But this hydrangea, they don't have wires. It's because they're so small, they don't need it. My dream one day is to make a gigantic hydrangea bunch, but I haven't been able to do that yet. And here's another. This is a hairpin. Let's say, yeah, just decorate your hair updo. I'm going to put this down again just so I can use two hands here. So one of the other things I'm really proud of that I made is a plum flower, which, to be honest, if I were to have a choice between plum and sakura, I would choose plum. I think I like the color varieties, and I also like that it smells amazing. Sakura is beautiful, but they usually don't have a smell. So the plum is the first flower to bloom in Japan, and then after that is the magnolias and the camellias, and then it's the sakura here. So what else can I show you? I do have a very nice pansy. If you here's a viola that I made. Oops, it's got some. This is a hair tie that I made here. This is a viola like this. One pansy that I am particularly proud of. Maybe this one. I mean, okay, so this is my very first 3D embroidery work. Oh, actually, that's not true. This is my very first one. So you see I've gotten a lot better. here's another. This is another pansy that I made, and I really like this one. And then I made a purple one at some point if I can find it. But oh, it's not in my bag. Maybe it's not in my bag. Oh no, I found it. Yay! Okay, so this pansy I really like, and I ought to make more pansies, but this one I'm pretty happy with of how it turned out. Pansies are 2 layers. So there's one layer here, and then there's a back layer here, and I stitch it and glue it together, and then I attach it to whatever I like. Since these pansies that I make are pretty small, they're probably nicer for hair accessories or earrings. This pansy will probably take 6 hours for one pansy straight for embroidery, because I would say the area is equal to this one here, but there are 2 pieces, so it'll take a little bit longer than this. My quickest flower is the hydrangea, though. I can get this done in an hour and a half. That's the fastest one. Let's see. I guess what I can show you is next is how I'm going to process this. Let me put my works back. So I'm going to put everything back in here in the bag. See you later, guys. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try to figure out the best way to make a pattern from this snowbell that I found outside. Let's see. Okay, so if you can see, I already did it with the sakura that I picked from outside. I also, when it was magnolia season not too long ago, I dissected a magnolia and I made the flower print from there. And so later I'm going to cut this out or trace it and make my own magnolia. I also take notes of how many petals they have, the size of the petals compared to, so the outer petals are smaller than the inner ones here. And also the color transitions here. And also the shape of the stamen, because that actually is big help. It helps determine the final outlook of the flower. So I don't know if the best way to do this here, maybe, okay, so I'm just kind of ad hocing a tripod here. Sorry, okay, that's not focused at all. Sorry if I know it's sideways. Is there a way to flip this? Oh, that works for you guys. Okay, so there we go. Okay, So now I'm gonna see the best way to get this snowbell dissected so I can make a pattern out of it. And if you're watching, maybe you can learn how to do this too. So the first thing before dissecting is that I take notes on what it looks like. I noticed that each petal has a little green dot at the bottom. I also counted how many petals they have and the shape of the stamen on the inside. I drew a little picture of the stamen. So here's the male one, and here's the female here. And I also noticed that the female has a little bit of a green tip on the inside. So I made sure to include that in my notes before taking it apart. The thing about living in Tokyo and doing this stuff to flowers is that they don't really like people who pick flowers. So it's a little bit tricky. Um, I don't know the best way to go about this. I think I'm going to take this stamen out now first. Um, and of course, I remember the snowbell shape is there. Okay, so now it doesn't have any stamen. I took them out. Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to do is either I could stamp it and then have it that shape, and then I could do an individual petal if I decide. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stamp it in my stamp pad here, like this. Oh, sheesh, only if it cooperates though. Here we go. So snowbells, actually, if I open them, they kind of remind me of Venus flytrap flower. If you haven't seen those are gorgeous. They're very pretty. I made a Venus flytrap ear cuff, actually. I should have shown you that. That was one of my earlier original designs. So anyway, here I'm pushing the flower into the stamp pad like so. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'll be happy to answer them, even if I don't notice right away. Okay, so then I'm gonna do here like this. Okay, and it might not be perfectly even, but that's okay. I don't really mind. Also, while I'm stamping, I'm taking notes. The outer petals are kind of folding over the inner petals, and I'm going to remember that when I try to make this flower on my own. Okay, so then I've done that. So then I'm going to lift it and push it down like so. There. And then let's see if I can get it equal. Let's see if I make the folds behave nicely here. Okay, so then I'm going to push it down here. And then before I lift it, I think I'll draw the outline just so I know that it's definite. So I'll use the pink to help contrast this here. I'm using a Pilot gel pen. It's 0.5 centimeters, I think. No, sorry, that would be too fat. 0.5 millimeters. So I'm still American. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to put this here. And I'll draw the outline. And then I noticed that this petal ripped, so I'm going to ignore that and try to fill in the blanks like that. And this time I'm going to get it correct. Actually, one time I did try to make a snowbell, but without doing this part, and it didn't look that great. So this is my comeback at this flower. Okay. Okay. That's good enough. All right. So then, here we go. Ah, and then it makes kind of a nice general pattern for what I'm looking for. And then, so I have to just remember that this one here was on the outside, along with this one here. Oops, maybe the black pen is good for this. This was on the outside, and these were also on the outside here, like that. Okay, so then the next step is, just in case I want to go this way, is I'm going to pick one petal from the flower. Hopefully I don't rip it. Let's be gentle. I don't want to malform it. Also, it seems like they have a wider shape for the inner petal. Is that true? I might pick 2 petals just to be sure that it's true and mark it as inside and outside. So this is an inside petal. I'm going to remember that. Okay. So I'm going to tap it here in the ink pad, and then I'll push it down just so I can have the shape. It did rip a little bit on the bottom, so I'm going to just fill in the blank there manually, and then do the outline there. And the other benefit I found with the, this is an inside petal, I should write that. The other benefit I have with stamping is that without the stamping, the flower doesn't really want to stick to the paper. Also, I need to remember that they have a green tip, so I think like that maybe. So this is the green tip here. Green tip. Okay. And I think the ink makes it stickier. So without it, the petals just they you know, because the petals aren't perfectly flat, they're curved, but the ink helps them to stay in place on the paper. Okay, so then I'm going to take an outside petal here. All right, and it seems to me that the outside petals are just ever so slightly thinner than the inside petals. So this is kind of the interesting part of making these, is that I get to figure out how the flower is built. So there's the inside petal there. Oh, you know, I should have used pink. So it won't be perfect, but I will. Hello. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you guys have any questions about what I'm up to, if you just tuned in. So anyway, this is the, I'm going to write this is the outside petal. There. I'm going to lift that up. Okay, so then I'm done with that. So I'm not going to make this flower yet. I'm still, if you're following me on Instagram, you'll see that I recently bought space, or I rented space in Harajuku, and it's going to be gallery for 1 week, but it's not until next year. But I'm planning on doing that next year, the same time, but this week, but next year. And this is the green tip. Okay, so that's my process for making these patterns. I'm going to start using these patterns to make better versions of this, because I feel like I like this, but I also feel like it's a little cartoony. Is that the word I'm looking for? So then again, this is my magnolia one. This one I made of the camellias. I also took rose petal here. Let's see, I can lift this up now, as now I have both my hands here. So it's a little hard to see. This is better here. So this is the rose petals. You know, I was counting for the different sizes. Here's the camellias here. And then I have other drawings here of, I'll turn the camera around so you guys can see better. Here is my to scale of the studio space that I'm going to be renting out. I also did some, not etching, what do you call it? You press it, I suppose, and you do the pencil or the crayon on top of the leaf. That's a camellia leaf, which we have many, many of those here in Tokyo. And then I'm going to clean this up here. And I think that's enough. I'm going to turn this off now. And let me turn the camera around so you can see me. All right. So, yeah, I've been live for like 26 minutes now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll turn this camera off. So thanks for joining and seeing my process here. If you have any questions, you can always type in a comment and I'll be happy to ask. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Mimi Hana Threads. You can see it in my profile. I've got a few nice pictures there, and I'm always updating my stories about living life in Tokyo. And let's see, I think that's it. That's all I have to say. If you want another time, I can show you how I'm actually stitching these together and making them. And that's it. Okay, nice. Thanks for joining, and thanks for the 50 cents, Pablo. I've never gotten, this is I'm totally new to HAPS, so thanks for the support. I really appreciate it. Okay.